Good morning, Hacking Self Storage listeners. Firstly, do not forget to subscribe to the newsletter, MrSelfStorage.com. It is where all us cool kids hang out. Secondly, I know there's a Christmas tree in the background. I'm sorry. I've only got back from holiday in the last couple of days. It will be going, I promise you soon. Right, so today we're talking about a six-figure mistake I have made yet again. And I want to document it because I think it's important to talk about our mistakes. There's no point in just highlighting all the good stuff we do because everybody's got a highlight reel. And everybody's got mistakes they put in the cupboard, they hide away, they don't like to talk about. But I think the more I talk about my mistakes, the more I learn from them as well. It's like reinforcing it. It's the embarrassment, it's a shame, it's all of that. And I get to tell you guys, and hopefully it'll stick in my brain more because I'm telling you and talking to you about the mistakes I've made. So therefore, other people won't do them. So this mistake was the Mansfield shop fit. Now, I'll tell you. I'm trying to think, how do I get into it? But basically, we were doing the handover with Janice. Janice was taking me around. And I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. That's amazing. Wow, 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 wow. And I was like, these corridors are a little bit wide, aren't they? He goes, yeah, exactly the specification that we sent you over. Yeah, no, don't we are. How wide are they, please? 1500 millimeters. And I was like, right, great. He goes, that's the trend at the minute. People want wide corridors. I'm like, why? Why do we want wide corridors? I was like, okay, what's the least that people get away with? And he goes, well, you can go whatever size you want, obviously, but it needs to be the trolley, But my personal opinion, this is what this guy told me. He said, I'd go 1350. You get more square footage in there. And I look back and thought, oh my God, if I'd have gone 1350 so basically this is a width of a corridor. Sorry if anybody's not following on. This is an indoor self-storage and it's a width of the corridors. What we basically do in self-storage, we have a shop fit and not all the square foot can be lettable. So what we need to do is we need to build corridors, receptions, toilets, etc. And so the area is normally around about 75%. Would be perfect. So that means 25% of wasted space. 75% is lettable square footage, and the rest is wasted space like corridors, etc. The smaller your corridors, the more square foot you can let, because then your lettable square foot, if you're decreasing the corridors, then you must be increasing lettable square foot. And 1500 square foot I put here. Dennis made a mistake, but 1500 millimeters is standard. But because in my opinion we could easily get away with 1350, it would mean a larger lettable square footage. And what you've got to do, I mean, this is what, when I was talking to Fred, when Fred first came down to see my site at Clough Road, he really opened my eyes to this way of thinking, because it's not the amount of money you're losing now that matters. It's the amount of value on the company you're losing. So for example, if this square footage meant that I could take, if we decrease the corridors by 150 millimeters, so from 1500 to 1350, and we could add maybe an extra 10, 15, 20,000 pounds worth of rent every single year, because don't forget, it's a sizable area. It's a 20,000 square foot building on 2 floors. So that's 40,000 square foot, because we've got a mezzanine floor, 20,000 on the bottom, 20,000 on the top. So if we can just increase it by £20,000, the rent we get from that extra square foot we're doing, say if we only get a 5 times multiple, because the multiple go up the more sites you have. So if I get like 20 sites, the multiple is going to be probably 10 times. And so if we get an extra £20,000 in revenue from that extra square foot, 10 times multiple is 200 grand. So forget about the lettable money you are getting renting out that space. That's great. That's mustard. That's cash flow. That's extra. Of course you want that. But we need to start thinking long term. And long term, the money is 200 grand. Even if we only get £10,000 from that area, an extra £10,000 a year, which is comfortably possible, easily possible, then that means, my friends, that we're losing out £100,000 at a 10x multiple. If it's only 5 times multiple, we only have one site, 5 times multiple, then guess what? £20,000 is still £100,000. So I just looked at myself and thought, do you know why I made this mistake? Because it's classic, typical me. the devil's in the detail, but guess what? Dean doesn't like to go in the detail. Dean just thinks, standard, it'll be all right. I don't question things. I don't, to be honest, I didn't even know, this is embarrassing. I didn't even know the width of the corridors. I saw the amount of lettable square foot and I thought, yeah, that's all right. I saw the percentage and I thought, yeah, that's all right. I don't really need to look at it. I don't really need to go in detail. But again, this one little problem, this one little issue, this one little oversight has cost me 6 figures when I sell. I mean, if we sell for 100 million, 6 figures ain't going to be, don't give, I'm ridiculous. 6 figures ain't going to be anything. What? Shut up, you idiot. Of course, it's loads. Absolutely ridiculous. So, my takeaway here is sometimes, Dean, you have to look at the devil in detail, but we've also got to focus on maximizing revenue. How can we maximize revenue from your self-storage site? I promise you right now, there is ways that you can maximize the revenue from your site. I was talking to John McGlynn about this. I think it was it John McGlynn? It was a couple of years ago. And I think he asked me a question. I'm sure it was John McGlynn. And he asked me a question saying, wouldn't it be better, Dean, to get out? Say at the minute you're getting 80% of all your sites. Isn't it better to get out 100% from all your sites now rather than open up another site? Because another 80%, if you've got 4 sites, adding an extra 20% is 80%. Whereas if you open a new site, you've got all those costs associated with it, and it's still only 80%. So wouldn't you rather get the 80% from your existing sites, what it's not going to cost you any more money? I was like, yeah, great idea. And so many people overlook things like Beverly. I know we're leaving money on the table. Why? Because we think, yeah, we'll do it later. We'll do it another time. We'll do it later. We can get more containers. We'll just do it yet. And to look back at Wrexham, for example, they knew they was leaving money on the table, but it was their own site. So the problem is when it's your own site, you don't really look at it the same way somebody else would do. If somebody took over Beverly now, they would definitely double stack the containers and add in little containers here and there and probably gain an extra, 2,000 square foot, which is huge amount. No, maybe not 2,000, maybe 1,500 square foot, maybe a bit more. Between 1,500 and 2,000 square foot. Come on, Dean, don't really matter. and they would do that. They would increase the revenue like that. And just like I come into Wrexham, I saw the faults, I saw the issues, and I thought, right, here we go. We can increase the revenue. They're not doing that. We can add it in. We can get extra square footage here, and we can do this, we can do that, and we can increase square footage, which means we're going to increase the revenue. So my question for you is, how can you increase your revenue on your site? What can you look at? Where can you add extra rooms? Like at Wrexham at the minute, we're adding extra rooms on corridors. Yes, on corridors. The corridors are that wide. I mean, 1,500 mil, blooming heck. Wrexham's are 3 or 4 times that. Incredible width. And so we can actually add in rooms on the corridors to give us extra square foot. And so how can you add in extra revenue in your place? What can you do? And I'm absolutely sure there'll be something you can do. Even at Clough Road, we had Janice come down, optimized it for us for square footage and said, there you go, Dean, this is the very, very best we can do. And at Clough Road, because it was really, really important to me, it was my third site, I was like, it has to work. So I was like, right, okay, are we sure we can't fit any more units in here, there, anywhere? He goes, no, that's it. That's the most you can do. Anyway, as soon as Fred come, he was there 10 minutes. He goes, Dean, why don't you put a unit there? An extra unit there. Look, if you put a unit here, there's 15 square foot, 30 square foot, blah, blah, blah. He goes, there you go. And he said straight away, there's £10,000 that you can have add on to your sale at the end. I'm like, holy shit, Jesus. And he goes, look over here, we can do this here, we can do that, we can change this and we can add that there. I'm like, this man's a genius. And so even sometimes it's better just to get an outside opinion as well, because sometimes you can't see what you can't see. But my whole point is I made another 6-figure mistake because I didn't look at the details. And that's a trend with me, that I don't look at details. So I need to look at that, because I can't keep making 6-figure mistakes. Anyway, my friends, that is all I've got for you today. I love you. I appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow. I think it's Wednesday when this is coming out. So I'll see you on Thursday. All right. Love you. Appreciate you. Sarah.